Retirement is often envisioned as a time of relaxation and joy. Yet, beneath the surface, some face a silent battle that remains largely unspoken, with retirement increasing the probability of depression by a staggering 40%. Men over the age of 80 are the group with the highest suicide rates in Canada. Today, I'm here to share with you a deeply personal story about one of our dear clients, Bill Nugent, who sadly passed away last year from suicide. Bill's daughter, Lyndsay, has been kind enough to join us today as we look to shed some light on the complexities of depression, mental health and suicide, and what you can do to help and support. Welcome, Lyndsay. Thank you for taking the time to join us today. I understand that this can't be easy for you. I know you're here speaking on behalf of your mum Sally and your sister Melissa too. Perhaps maybe you could start just by introducing your dad, his history and what was important to him.
Sure. Thanks, Chris. And thanks for inviting my family to contribute to this important conversation. My dad had just turned 70 when we lost him to suicide last year. He was born into a world during the 50s when we now understand the way people could treat each other, particularly children, has proven to have had a significant impact on their mental health and emotional well-being as they navigated the world and became adults. Unaddressed trauma and unhealthy coping behaviors make managing life changes like retirement difficult, as you've pointed out, as well as financial stressors that can exacerbate pre-existing mental health challenges. My dad's upbringing and negative events during his childhood contributed to his unhappiness, self-esteem, and low confidence. He was a police officer for 30 years, which we also now understand can be a toxic and harmful work environment, particularly for those who experience depression and have a negative internal view of their self-worth. Unfortunately, mental health struggles and talking about emotions carried a stigma of shame and weakness back then, and there certainly wasn't available support to learn how to accept them or find ways to cope. My dad was generally a serious guy who could also be funny, and he loved to tell stories about the good old days. He was an athlete most of his life and loved playing and supporting all team sports. He was a dedicated Leafs fan and was a soccer coach most summers to my sister and I. He was private and didn't want a lot of attention. However, he did appreciate being acknowledged for his contributions, which he would show sometimes by how he treated others. I remember about a year ago, we were leaving a McDonald's and I saw him go over and tell a senior employee working hard that they were doing a good job. Despite his struggles and discomfort with trying and learning new things, adapting to changes happening in the world and in his relationships, my dad was a loyal friend and he loved his family very much, especially his grandson and granddaughter. He wanted so much to make us all happy, which we know is difficult to do when we're not happy ourselves.
Thanks for this, Lyndsay, and I appreciate those comments. It was very nice. I can't speak highly enough about your dad. He was an absolute gent, and I really enjoyed working with him over the years. So,
thank you.
Thanks. I just want to know how you and your mum and your sister have been coping since your dad's passing.
Yeah, sure. For me, it's been really helpful to contribute to projects like this one, where I have an opportunity to share my dad's experience in ways that could help others who might be struggling or someone else that they know. Keeping busy and sticking to a schedule is important. Maintaining social life and social connections with family and friends and making new ones is helpful. My mom has been a champion in modeling these things. Ask for help. Access support through mental health professionals and programs which are becoming more available to us and hopefully that continues. My mom recently participated in a support program for traumatic loss survivors offered by Distress Centres of Toronto. She found it helpful to be in a safe place with other individuals who have lost a loved one by suicide. We also speak about my dad and purposely say his name. We don't hide the fact that my dad took his own life when asked about what happened or how he died. We want to contribute to increasing awareness about how mental health and depression are a day-to-day reality of a lot of people's lives. And we hope to help decrease the stigma associated with these issues. Lastly, I would encourage people to make space in their relationships with their families, friends, colleagues of all ages and stages in life for talking about mental health, depression, and suicide. We will all cross paths with these issues at some point in our lives. So proactively creating a dialogue and letting the people you care about know you're available to listen and support them could make a difference. So talk about it and say it out loud.
Thanks very much for that, Lyndsay. I can't even begin to imagine what you've all been through over the past year. Thanks for taking the time to do this today.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So I now want to turn our attention to what those of you listening can do if you find yourself or someone you know struggling with depression or mental health. As Lyndsay just pointed out, it starts with open discussions and professional help when it's needed. It's vital to recognise when it's time to seek support. Again, as Lyndsay and our family would want you to know, there's strength, not stigma, in getting help. From there, you can start to imagine where you want to be intellectually, emotionally, spiritually, and in your relationships over the next decades. Think about being engaged, curious, and continuously learning. Qualities that studies, including one from Yale University, show can significantly extend our lives. Another key aspect is staying physically active. Regular exercise isn't just good for the body, but it's also a powerful mind booster. Lyndsay just ran the Toronto Marathon, and she can tell you that runner's high is a real thing. Now, I'm not suggesting that you go and run a marathon tomorrow, but even just incorporating a daily walk is a good starting point. Baby steps. Engaging in social activities is another vital step. Isolation can be a profound challenge in later years, so maintaining strong connections with family, friends, and community groups can provide the emotional support needed. Lastly, regular check-ins with mental health professionals can be beneficial, even if you feel okay. We readily do an annual physical without so much of a thought. Your mental health's no different. These visits can act as a preventative measure, helping to manage stress and detect any early signs of mental health issues before they become serious. Another important point that I did want to touch on today: the World Health Organization estimates one person dies by suicide every 40 seconds. Over 4,000 Canadians die by suicide every year, an average of 11 per day. And yet, while mental illness accounts for about 10% of the burden of disease in Ontario, it receives just 7% of the healthcare dollars. This shortfall, totaling almost 1.5 billion, creates an ever-widening gap in the system's ability to deliver timely intervention and adequate long-term care. If you're watching this today and wondering what you can do to help, making a donation to CAMH is an accessible way to generate much-needed funds for Canadian mental health resources. You can also offer your time with various volunteer initiatives. I'll leave some links in the show notes for you to check out. It's stories like Bill's that drive home the need for awareness, proactive support, and the courage to seek help when needed. Let's honour Bill's memory by taking action, by not waiting until it's too late, and by supporting each other in our journeys towards mental health. If Bill's story resonated with you, or if you know someone who might benefit from hearing this message, I encourage you to share this video. Together, we can make a difference.